So I just got done listening to Mike the Music Snob, or YouTube channel Become the Knights, final part in his two-part series on the CCM industry. And I wish I could say that I was super shocked. Like, at the beginning, I was surprised at a lot of the stuff that I heard. But once it started to come into full perspective, into full view, I was like, yeah, I can see this happening. I really can see this happening. CCM is filled with human beings. Christians are human, but there's a lot of secrecy. There's a lot of crap going on there. Highly encourage you to watch the two-part video. It's a very good video series. If I can remember, I'm just now getting back into the swing of things in terms of YouTube. So if I can remember to put the links in the pinned comment, I will do my best. But I'm just getting back into the swing of things in terms of YouTube. So forgive me if I forget. But it's very simple. Just look up Become the Knight, and it's his latest two videos. It's 2 hours worth of content. I think you'll get a lot from it. But he's basically it sums up to say everything that I've been saying. I label Christian music, like any band that's a Christian, as a CCM. As CCM when talking to my friends as to what type of music I listen to, just because that gives an easier view of what's on my phone. But I also explained to them that I use Christian music in quotations for the simple fact that it boxes an artist in, and that has always sat in my head. I do listen to artists like Newsboys and Toby Mac and all these other artists, but I also listen to artists like Owl City or Striper or Pillar, Thousand Foot Crutch. Switchfoot got out of the CCM industry because of how manipulative it was. Owl City was never in the CCM industry. They were a pop act. Adam Young was a pop act who was an open Christian. I love those types of people because you can be more authentic with who you are. One of my favorite bands who talked about everything under the sun, the struggles of life, the hardships of life, loving a girl, like actual basic love songs, and loving Jesus Christ himself, is a group called Relient K, which I really miss them. I hope they start making music again. Just like Owl City, I hope they make music again soon. But they are who I mostly listen to. Like, I do listen to the worship bands and stuff like that, and Are you done? No, you're not done. Okay, thank you. But I do listen to some of the worship artists, but like, I understand that they're selling a prepackaged product, that they're not really exploring the true emotions. And I remember bands like Gunger being absolutely blacklisted for simply saying they believe that God used evolution to create the world. I don't agree with that statement at all, but still, at that same thought process, you have to understand people are going to have different viewpoints. They were very anonymous with all the artists, and I completely understand that, because if you go after the artists and you try to take down these artists, you're making a lot of other people lose their jobs. They're innocent people lose their jobs. That is not an acceptable thing to do. But there are artists that are super racist, artists that are struggling with homosexuality, artists that are, just not even Christian at all. They're just playing the game because it's easy money. It is super easy money to have that go on and to pretend to play the part. There was a story in the first video that Mike did where one of his friends, I think his friend was Clayton, I think that's who it was. He said there was a band, one of the founding members, never been a founding member for years, never learned how to play keys, and he's the keys player of that group. So he doesn't even know what he's doing. He's literally on stage pretending and faking what he's doing. And this is such a common theme. So that's why when I say I listen to Christian music, I'm not meaning worship bands, CCM artists, although I do listen to some of those. I'm talking about the Toby Macs of the world, Switchfoot, Flyleaf, Evanescence. I'm listening to bands like Striper. I'm listening to August Burns Red, Devil Wears Prada, although I'm not sure if they're Christian anymore. I think they're still Christian. But I'm listening to those types of bands. Artists like Lecrae, Trip Lee, Tadashi, KJ52, who left the industry due to ageism, because apparently ageism in Christian rap is a thing. But these are the people that I listen to because they actually talk about the struggles of life. They actually talk about the difficulties of life and why it's so hard and why life is not all peaches and cream. It's not just Jesus, Jesus, Jesus all the time, which is why it always pissed me off whenever people would be like, you didn't say Jesus this amount of times, so you're off. How is this a Christian song? Or it annoyed me when people would go to a joke song that KJ52 would sing, like Mountain Dew or Coke Fried Cheeseburger or Stuck in the 80s, and they'd be like, how is this song Christian? How is KJ a Christian artist? This is not Christian. And I'm thinking to myself, are you really that closed off from life where you cannot even make a joke song that because you classify yourself as an artist who's a Christian, notice I say artist who's a Christian, not a Christian artist, because you classify yourself as that, in that perspective, in that realm, you must constantly say Jesus a certain number of times or else you're not a Christian. It's like back in the 90s when Kirk Franklin had that gospel revival, that movement where gospel, he was just changing the gospel game, and people did not like that. It's the same thing. We have so many puritanical people in the Christian industry. Just look at YouTubers like Vigilant Christian Mario, who's an extreme hypocrite. There are tons of videos of people who worked with him who have called him out on his hypocrisy. But there's so many puritanical people out there who are selling snake oil, the Joel Osteens of the world, people like that who are like, come in, Mike talked about this, come in here, this is the safe band, this is a band you can listen to, it's safe, come on, you're okay, you can listen to this band, you can listen to this artist. And we're putting these artists on a pedestal, and it's just not right, it's not acceptable. These people are human beings, and they can't talk about their struggles. They can't talk about what's hurting them in life. They can't do any of that because they're in the CCM banner. It's why I was perfectly happy when artists like Lauren Daigle and Switchfoot left CCM. They didn't stop being Christian. They just left the Christian music moniker, which is completely understandable and completely acceptable because it's so toxic. You're selling a product, and when your product is supposed to be God, they also brought this up. It's the money changers in the temple. That is so blasphemous. And again, they didn't put down all CCM artists. Just like I'm not putting down all CCM artists. But when it becomes a pattern, it's just bad. It's why I don't like Katy Perry. I think she's a bad person, but I can understand why she took the path that she took, because apparently there was a story that was told in this interview in the first video where Katy Perry, who was Kate Hudson at the time, wanted to be Amy Grant. She wanted to be this firebrand for the Lord, a Christian artist. But she was 15, 16 when she came out. And all these so-called Christian men professing to be believers in Jesus took advantage of her, in the bed. And so when you're looking at this and you see all these people who profess to be Christian taking advantage of a young lady like that, how are you going to be like, why would I promote this stuff? Why would I be in this position? Why would I do that? So I can see why she went the way that she did, and why a lot of pop artists went the way that they did. It's a toxic environment, even more so when your product that you're selling is that of faith in Jesus. I'm gonna mention one more thing that was in that video. I'm paraphrasing. Artists would go and preach about how awesome Jesus was, and then they would talk about, how, if you can't get through your struggles without God, then you're a failure. Again, I'm paraphrasing. That was something that was said in the second video that I just listened to. The CCM industry is bad. So whenever I say I listen to contemporary Christian music, I'm not trying to say CCM. I'm just talking about I listen to Christian music from artists that happen to be Christian. And so hopefully I can find enough bands who don't profess to be in the Christian genre, or enough bands who actually break the mold of the CCM genre and actually talk about, the struggles of life and the pain of life and how hard things are. And they don't just go, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus 3 billion times and call it a day. I think Mike said it best. Or one of Mike's friends said it best. They take a 3-second song and they stretch it out into 10 minutes. I want authenticity in my music. And I love a lot of worship music. I do. But I need some realism too. I really do. So those are my thoughts. Mike basically summed up everything that I thought about in terms of contemporary Christian. And I appreciate his video for this. I appreciate him talking about this stuff. I didn't know Mike was effectively Christian. I didn't. Like, obviously I figured he may have grew up Christian, but I didn't know that that's something that he flat out said, I'm effectively a Christian. So for people who want to know what I listen to, I want to listen to music that's uplifting, whether it's from a artist who professes to be a Christian or not. Music that's mostly clean. I do listen to some music that swears. Sometimes I listen to some inappropriate music on YouTube, but I'm like in my drives home from work. And I want to just listen to music that's going to build me up and also challenge me. And also, artists like NF, who really dives deep into the human psyche, because that's what he knows. He knows depression, and that's what he pulls out. He's like Eminem, but he always has a light at the end of the tunnel. There's always hope in his music. And those are the types of artists that I want to listen to. I want to listen to artists that actually talk about the struggles of life, but also talk about how beautiful life is and how wonderful Jesus is. I want a mixture of all of that, and that's what my iPod looks like, my Android phone looks like. So those are my thoughts on Mike the Music Snob's video. And I appreciate him for saying the things that he said. I appreciate him for talking about this. It needed to be talked about. And I'm glad that God put this new path in his way, because he was going to make a completely different type of video, but God put people in front of him. This is my perspective. He didn't say this. I'm saying this. God put people in front of him, his friends, 4 or 5 of his friends. 4 of them were Christian. 1 was not, but has respect for Christians. And this video came out. So it's a very beautiful thing, and it's something that I respect deeply. So thank you, Mike, for talking about this. Thank you for being willing to call out the dirty laundry in the CCM world. And I will always respect you. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I mean, if you liked it, hit the like button. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike button. Comment down below, tell me what you think. Subscribe and hit the bell icon, because it tells the algorithm that you like what you heard. And share this, because it tells YouTube that you want to see more of this. This is Gabe of Happy Bloodfish Productions, signing off, saying take care and God bless. Peace out, everybody, and be good to one another.